This is Mel Stein, retired St. Louis Police Department corporal. On his 100th birth year, we look back on his amazing and heroic life. He was a China Marine in the late 1930s, the oldest living Marine gunnery sergeant. He joined the police department in the early 1940s, only to re-enlist in the Marines, participating in 4 major campaigns in the Pacific Theater. In 1953, while at work, Mel was first on the scene at the Southwest Bank robbery, an event that changed police training and police response to critical incidents.
Take us back to that day in 1953 when 4 unsavory characters from Chicago entered our city and tried to leave with something that did not belong to them. The bank robbers. What do you recall on that day?
I recall a lot of shooting.
Right.
Yeah.
When you woke up that day, Mel, when you woke up that morning, did you have any idea something like that was going to happen?
No, I had no idea. I always suspected that at some stage of the game, something like that might happen. Being a police officer, you never know. You never know. Any call you will go in on, you never know what to expect.
Right. Now, it's my understanding that over 100 officers responded to that bank robbery call. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, they were swarming all over the place.
Now, tell us exactly what you did from the time you arrived on the scene of the bank robbery.
Well, Bob and I were riding south on Kings Highway, and it was getting near lunchtime, and I said, Bob, how about the sandwich? And he says, yeah. So we pulled down under the Kings Highway viaduct, and Bob got out of the car, and I told him, well, I'll take a ham on the ride. And he opened the door and started over. Just before he opened the door to Salah's restaurant, the dispatcher come on and says, attention all cars. The holdup alarm is sounding at the Southwest Bank. So I hollered at Bob. I said, hey, Bob, come on. The alarm is sounding at the Southwest Bank. So he came over, jumped in the car right away. I turned around, and as I pulled up in front of the bank, just as I set the brake, he says, attention all cars. The holdup at the Southwest Bank is now in progress. That's when the hair stands straight back on your head. I mean, so Bob jumped out the side, and I had to cut the engine, and I got out to the car. And Bob went to the side door. There's a side door at the bank. And as Bob got to the door and opened the door, just as he opened the door, I saw a Bowerman with his shotgun shoot through the glass and shoot my partner, Bob Heights. Well, I was close enough that I could spot him. I fired 2 shots straight at him through the glass, and then I ducked. And as I ducked, Bowerman fired 2 shots with a sawed-off shotgun, and my training in the Marine Corps saved my life, because the training says in a firefight, you make yourself a small target and you take cover, and that's what I did. I dropped down, and there was 2 shots of 00 buck went 4 inches over my head. I could see, I peeked around the corner, and I could see Bowerman in there, and I could see Scholl in there. Now, just about this time, I heard a loud discharge inside the bank. That was when Vito put a .45 automatic up to his head and blew the whole side of his head out.
Was he a top 10 most wanted guy by the FBI?
No, I don't think he was on the FBI's list, but he was wanted for a hijacking of a truck, and it was recovered on Carson Road. But anyway, he was hot for a lot of crime in Chicago. I never did go into the detail of finding out what he was all wanted. But Joel was working to come out, and I happened to glance down, and I saw Bowerman was just about had his gun that was in his belt, and he had it in his hand, and I quick grabbed that gun, which he would have shot me if just a second or two later I'd have been a crappie. I mean, after Vito, now in the meantime, before he shot himself, had collected all of the money from these different ones. It was 141,000, and he had it in a black valise, and he had it over his arm. So he grabbed this woman, and he started out the door. Now there's a storm door that came up there, and he was pushing and pushing, and very slowly, and gave me time that I could calculate. I lined up the barrel of my gun on the axis of my arm, and I come down on the upright of the door, and I moved over just slightly, and I just held and stopped breathing. And as he passed through, the woman passed through, and after she passed through, I slowly squeezed off, and when I saw that she was clear of my line of fire, I squeezed off the trigger, and that's when I caught him through here.
Mel?
Yeah.
They made a movie or two about the Great Southwest Bank robbery.
Yeah.
One of them starred Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
How accurate of a portrayal was that movie? Was it accurate?
Well, the part that I played in it was the part that I took, of course, in the bank robbery. When I was planning to put the thing together, what to do at the bank scene, I suggested to Guggenheim that we do it just exactly the way it happened.
Right.
And he says, we'll do it that way. Unfortunate that Bob got shot. Had Bob not gone in that door, of course, this is his decision to be made. I mean, I couldn't do anything about that.
And a brave man he is.
Yeah, a brave man he was that went in there.
Yeah.
And as soon as he went in there, he saw Scholl with the two guns, and he fired, and he hit him in the backside. That knocked him out of action. Now that's the part that Steve McQueen played of Scholl with the two guns. Now, a good thing Bob did shoot him, because if he didn't, I would have had Scholl with two guns just inside the bank, and I'm just outside the bank.
Right. You stayed mighty calm and cool during this whole incident. Do you think your police academy training and the Marine training really kicked in? The training that you've had? Yes. There was the training and keeping cool and not being able to get excited. I mean, there was a degree of I wouldn't say anger, but there was a degree of anxiety in me, because I saw him shoot my partner, and then he shot at me. Now, it was up to me to get him, or he's going to shoot somebody else. Right. He's going to shoot all of the policemen if he's got enough. Right. So he had to be gotten. Oh, yeah. That was my conclusion. Did you make a good arrest, Mel, some years later? Somebody that was wanted by the FBI? No. That was a year before, 1952. Okay. Let me explain that. Here's one of the things that I was bitter about, and I'll explain it now, and I hope there will be an understanding, a real understanding. This Kansas highway police officer stopped a car on the highway. As the police officer, under standard operating procedure, took down the license number. Okay.
Now, he got out of the car, and as he approached the car that he stopped, the driver turned around and shot him, and shot him in the heart and killed him. He got in his car, then he turned around and he went down St. Louis. In the meantime, the officers investigating the scene found the license number, and they gave it to the dispatcher. The dispatcher put that license number out. They looked it up, and they knew the type of car. And it was William. It was, gee, this is emotional for me. William Morton. William Morton come down, and he crossed the river, and he went down to Carroll, Illinois. Apparently, he was traced by different officers as he went. He turned around and come back up, and he come across the river, and he came into St. Louis. He went out to Gravois, and when he went out to Gravois, he stole this car. It belonged to a lieutenant. He run out of gas, and for some reason he couldn't go any further out Gravois, and he went up to this house way out on Gravois, and he backed out. He started this car, and he backed the car out, and it happened to be a lieutenant in the St. Louis Police Department's car that he stole. So he called the State Highway Patrol. The State Highway Patrol put out a arrest order for this license in this car, last seen going east on Gravois. Now, Walter and I was at Brandon and Arsenal at the time, and I said, he's coming into Gravois, Walter. I said, well, you don't suppose we could get lucky? I put the gas pedal down, and I headed straight for Hampton and Gravois. Just as we pulled into Hampton and Gravois, we looked over and I said, look, Walter, that's him. And I pinned him over against the wall. And he pulled over, and as I pulled over, as I got out of the car, Walter had the gun on him, didn't move, so I got over, and we peeled him out of the car, and we put him over against the wall, and we shook him down, put handcuffs on him, and at that time, Whit on a motorcycle came up. We put Morton in the cruising patrol and went into the 2nd District. When we came into the 2nd District, a Bauman was desk sergeant, and we told him that we got the man wanted for that killing in Kansas, and Adam Reek, who was the sergeant, got a phone call and from the night chief. And the night chief says, bring him down here. So instead of letting us write the report on making this arrest, Adam Reek demanded that we put William Morton back into the cruiser and take him down to headquarters. Now when we got down to headquarters, the night chief, I'm not going to mention any names, the night chief says, hey Stein, you take William Morton over to the hospital and get him examined for injuries, and Whit, who wasn't even there at the arrest, the motorcycle man, Whit, he says, Whit, you write the report. Whit wrote the report that he made the arrest, and he was later promoted for his action on the arrest of William Morton. And that, and now his Whit's partner, they rode double 2 motorcycles in that area, and the other, his partner, said that, boy, that was as lousy a thing as you could do. And Witt wasn't even there when we made the arrest, and he got promoted because the night chief didn't bother, didn't care what happened. He just said, you do this, you do that. And then instead of doing a little investigation to find out who made the arrest, actually, I was involved in the arrest of 2 of the FBI's 10 most wanted.
That's pretty amazing.
You're a professional as a police officer. Act as a professional. Keep your cool at all times. Don't never get excited. Never let a situation get out of hand through anger. Anger should not be a part of a police officer's makeup. Because when you encourage or practice anger, you lose your good, sound thinking. You don't think straight when you're angry. So no matter what the circumstances are, immunize yourself from offense against you. Keep your cool, and you'll come out with the right answer every time. And don't be arrogant, and don't be. Remember, regardless of race, creed, or denomination, they're human beings. We're all the same. Treat everybody the same, and don't figure that you're a big shot because you got a badge on. That don't work. I mean, and by all means, especially at first sight, keep your shoes shined, keep your tie in the right place, and look professional. And you've got your case half won by just the mannerism in which you present yourself. They look at you as a professional. But if you come in ragged and you get bean soup all over your front, I mean, that don't work. I mean, you can't accomplish a thing. You're a professional, act like a professional. And you have to have all kinds of talents to be a police officer, to be a good police officer. Anybody can be a police officer, but a good police officer has all kinds of talents. You got to be a humanitarian. You got to be no matter what it is about human life, you got to be a part of in order to be a good policeman. A good policeman is in control at all times, and sometimes it's worse than others, especially when you got a drunk. You've got to, some people when they get drunk, they get mean and ornery, and they lose their respect for a police officer. Ordinarily, they might be a nice guy, but when they got some drinks in them, then they're changed to person. You got to allow for that, and don't aggravate them. Don't agitate any situation. Always reach for the right answers to solve the problem. Like in the Marine Corps, they say an estimate of the situation and a plan of attack. And if you use those tactics, you'll come out on top every time.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is some of the best advice ever given. And Mel says you can bring order to the chaos and still be a professional. You can be a professional when you do that. This was our visit with retired Corporal Mel Stein.